I ask everyone to take their seats? It is 10:02 a.m. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Board of Directors of Friday, August 25th, 2023. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Thank you to the members of the public here with us today and phone joining us for the audio option. I appreciate everyone's patience as we go through today's meeting. Madam Secretary, roll call please.
Thank you. Starting with Director Conroy is absent. Dorsey is absent. Guardia is absent. Garbarino here. Judice
Here.
Roseville
Here.
Hernandez here. Maston
Here.
Bolton Peters
Here.
Parr
Present.
Rabbit
Here.
Rodoni
Here.
Safai is absent. Snyder
Here.
Stephanie here.
Here.
Second Vice President Hill is not with us today. First Vice President Cochran.
Here.
And President Hill.
Here.
Thank you. You have a point.
Thank you. Director Rodoni, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Rodoni. We have now public comment. Amaret and Justine, take us through that, please.
Thank you. We have no speakers in the room. We have, let me make sure, I double checked with the, that's right, we have no speakers in the room. Justine, do you have any speakers on your public line?
I do. Good morning. Our first speaker this morning is Kimberly Renee Gamboa. Kimberly Renee, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Renee Gamboa, and I am holding one of my favorite photos of my 18-year-old son, Kyle Emerson Gamboa, smiling from ear to ear in his high school class picture. Kyle jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge on September 20th, 2013 at 11:45 a.m. Thank you for your continued efforts on the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge suicide deterrent. The construction indeed has been a monumental task, but the completion of the project is now in sight. The suicide deterrent will, if it hasn't already, significantly reduce and hopefully eliminate the number of suicides on the Golden Gate Bridge. Again, thank you.
Justine, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Dave Brody. Mr. Brody, go ahead.
Board members, managers, and staff, good morning. My name is Dave Brody. I'm the San Francisco Policy Co-Chair for the Climate Reality Project. Having missed last month's board meeting due to jury duty, I was thrilled by the inspiration I received earlier this month. That inspiration came from the PBS Iconic America episode about the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm sure all of you have seen it by now, and I'm sure all of you, board members, managers, and staff, feel added pride in being part of one of the great symbols of America. The opening of the episode spoke of how the Golden Gate Bridge is about dreams, about journeys, and how it symbolizes aspirations. And Mr. Mulligan, I was delighted to hear what you said in your interview about why the bridge is so important, saying that when it was built, we didn't tarnish the site, we actually made it better. I was fascinated with the backstory of the building of the bridge, recalling my own experience with the Halfway to Hell Club in 1987. I met many of them when I worked with KPX TV on a story about the bridge's 50th anniversary. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't feel a certain pride in the Golden Gate Bridge, whether they worked on it or guide its policies like you do, or have run or walked across it, or lived nearby, or or produced events on it like I have. The Iconic America program reminded me of that. But after its outstanding videography, its characterization of the bridge representing America's can-do spirit, how it proves our determination and commitment to the future, the Iconic America episode spelled out the challenges the Golden Gate Bridge District faces. Since the bridge was completed in 1937, America has developed an unsustainable addiction to the automobile. This is, of course, why you operate a bus and ferry transit system. The Golden Gate Bridge is still beautiful, it's still necessary, but planning a sustainable transit system is now of paramount importance. I know that one of the goals of the district's new strategic planning initiative is to imagine that sustainable future. Among the recommendations I made when you reached out for input was the need to show the public what the future can look like. I know you've seen all the amazing designs for electric commuter ferries. Back in the day, we would have said they looked space age. But like the streamlined electric buses, these amazing non-polluting electric ferries are here now. I encourage you not just to make a commitment to them, but to do a major branding campaign presenting the Golden Gate Bridge transit system of the future. I believe it was Pete Buttigieg who said in the program that we need to help people reimagine their future. The program also explained why we need to paint a brighter picture of the future. Everyone who's paying attention is seriously worried about the impact of the climate crisis. And everyone who's paying attention to the battles the California high-speed rail project is facing understands that a sustainable future comes with a price. But as Al Gore points out, the cost of the status quo keeps rising. The cost of sustainable alternatives keeps declining. The future of the Golden Gate Bridge's legacy is in your hands. Thank you for listening.
Ms. Bach, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is David Pilpel. David, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble hearing members in the room. I don't know if there's something you can do on the audio. Okay, good morning, David Pilpel. So following up on my comments from yesterday's rules meeting, to clarify, I believe the district should have competitive salaries, benefits, and policies to attract and retain staff. My concern really is that all the exceptions in my view, make human resources, benefits, and payroll a lot more complicated. I would try to simplify and standardize as much as possible using salary as the primary way to address recruitment problems with hiring bonuses as needed. I can only imagine that district payroll is something of a nightmare. I also reviewed the June of 2022 board action on the engineering department's vacation accrual policy, which covered engineering classifications. And so I now understand that today's action would just add the inspector classifications with the same policy. Meanwhile, I still think that now is the time to get district buses onto Market Street in San Francisco. The drug and homeless problems near 7th and Market Streets seem uncontrolled, and moving to 9th Street doesn't completely avoid the area since Mission Street is congested and problematic as well. The Market Street transit-only lanes are right there, almost waiting for Golden Gate buses to use them. I would look forward to a brief comment from the general manager on my points. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Pilpel. Ms. Bach, do we have anyone else?
We do, President Theriault. Our next speaker is Robert Kaufman. Robert, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Kaufman. I'm a Golden Gate Transit bus driver. I just wanted to make note, just so you're all aware. I'd like to invite you guys to come ride our route so you know the reality of them, especially the 30s on the weekends. A couple weeks ago, I did an outbound 30 or an inbound 30 on a Sunday early evening, and I had more passengers than I've ever had at any time before the pandemic, etc. I severely overloaded this bus, and I had multiple times having to empty the bus just to go ahead and get so people could be boarded. So we definitely need some more service, and I just wanted to go ahead and make you guys aware of it. And so please just take a look at, keep in mind. So our buses are filling up, and it's impacting just our normal drivers with the tourists, so they like some gentleman wasn't able to make it in time to go ahead, and he had to get on a train and he missed it because we're someone. So anyway, any help we can get is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Ms. Bach, anyone else?
President Theriault, if you don't mind, I would like to poll the room one more time. We did have someone join right as we started.
Yes, please.
Thank you. If you'd like to speak at the board meeting this morning, please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. Again, if you'd like to speak this morning, please press ** to unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody else, but all the speakers we have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bach. Mr. Mulligan. Anything to say?
Certainly, I'd like to thank all the speakers. Ms. Kimberly Renee Gamboa's advocacy is tireless and inspirational. So I always wish to acknowledge and thank her. I also wish to thank Mr. Rode for his thoughtful comments and his tireless advocacy. We are very well aware that we're under his watchful eye to do the right thing. Mr. Pilpel is very astute that HR and payroll have difficult jobs here at the Bridge District because we have so many different job classifications with different job rules and pay formulas. And the idea to simplify and standardize things is something that we do pursue when we can achieve it and when it makes sense. And then finally, for Mr. Robert Kaufman, he is very astute in his observations. Travel patterns have changed since the pandemic. The commute is not back. Between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., bridge traffic is down 30%. On the bus side of our business, our busiest trip is a 114, the last one on certain weekdays, but our second busiest trip is a 130 on an afternoon weekend going southbound into San Francisco carrying tourists back. So we're very cognizant. We're tracking the travel patterns our staff is at a very minute detail, and the input from our bus operators, such as Mr. Kaufman, as well as our ferry crews, is always welcome to validate the information that we have. But the bus management team reviewed the ridership numbers yesterday, and the 130 was something that was called out. The other option we have to address that demand in that area is we do have ferry service out of Sausalito also that can. So we need to look at how we market and move customers around between them as we make our decisions. But we're very grateful that tourism and recreational travel is back, as well as bus ridership within San Francisco, because it is helping raise our numbers as we continue our continued growth of return of customers. And that concludes my response to public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mulligan. Next item on the agenda would be the consent calendar. You've all had a chance to review it. Are there any questions, comments, corrections on the consent calendar? I'm looking around, I'm not seeing any. So can we have a motion to approve? And a second. There's a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. We'll start with Director Conroy, who's absent. Dorsey is absent. Guardio is absent. Garbarino. Aye. Giudice.
Yes.
Roseball.
Yes.
Hernandez. Aye. Maston.
Aye.
Peter. Yes. Parr. Aye. Raddick.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai is absent. Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie. Aye. Peter. Aye. Second Vice President Hill is absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 14 ayes.
14 ayes, motion passes. Next item is back to you, General Manager Mulligan.
Thank you, President Terrio, members of the board, members of the public. My written report is before you. I have one item I want to draw your attention to and respectfully ask that you make a motion after some discussion. All district employees participate in a pension plan. There's 4 different pension plans that govern district employees. The plan they participate in is a function of their collective bargaining agreement. One of those plans is the Golden Gate Transit Amalgamated Retirement Plan, which is the pension plan for our bus operators. And for a variety of reasons, it's in much more dire fiscal straits than the other 3 pension plans. For those of you that have your budget book with you, because I see a few here, you can turn to page 63 and you'll see what we contribute to each pension plan. You will observe that currently the bus operator plan does receive the highest percentage of payroll of all 4 pension plans that we participate in. But regardless, it is struggling and it is in need of dire help, and this board is committed to help. As part of your prior actions, when you approved the last collective bargaining agreement, you made an action to make a one-time $5.2 million contribution in addition to the annual 34% of payroll. You also, though, as part of that, acknowledge that we'll be doing a study collectively with the union to try to figure out how best to fix it. But to help enlighten the board, this board, the GT TARP Board of Trustees met on August 9th, and at their meeting, among other things, they authorized their plan actuary, if invited by you, to come and do a presentation at your meeting. So I would like to strongly urge you to make a motion and vote on a motion to have the GT TARP actuary come at your next monthly meeting to the full board and make a presentation so you can have a better appreciation of how dire this plan is and why it needs the support of us and our employees and plan participants to fix it. So with that, maybe I'll pause to see if there's any discussion or perhaps a motion.
I'll actually add a little bit to that. I was the one who made the motion at the meeting of the GG TARP Board of Trustees And I did not feel entitled myself to invite the plan actuary to come before you. And so my motion was that if this board asks the plan actuary to come and present to you, the pension trust would pay for that presentation. And so I think it is very important that you hear the details from the plan actuary of what is going on with the bus drivers pension trust. There's been a lot of conversation here, but the plan actuary's analysis puts the situation of the trust into very sharp focus with things you need to know. And so I would ask actually for a motion to invite the plan actuary and then discussion on the motion.
So
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Director Parr.
It ran through my mind that we shouldn't ask the trust to pay for that, that the bridge should support that. Is that not appropriate? As a point of information for the board?
If I may, the board is already authorized to pay for hiring a consultant to work with the union and the district to study the plan. So we will be making a significant investment along that lines. So I think it's okay if the trust wants to pay for this, couple hour presentation from their very talented actuary. And I think, either way is fine. But separately, we have agreed to hire professionals to come in and evaluate the plan and make suggestions.
My concern was more the optics of it. If the fund is in jeopardy, and we all know it is, and if we care deeply about it as the organization, it just sounded to me as though we should be footing the bill rather than putting it back on the trust, which we know is already in.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. Well, I understand that. I did not consult with plan counsel to see whether that was objectionable in any way.
Okay.
And so I have that doubt still. I should have
fair.
asked in case this came up, but I did not.
Maybe we could make it so that it's,
If plan counsel finds
that
it
it's
permissible,
negotiable or it's discussable.
if plan counsel deems it permissible for us to accept a contribution from the board,
Okay.
for the trust to accept a contribution from the board to pay for the presentation, we shall do so. That could be a
Thank
part of
you.
the motion.
I think from my point of view, that would fix that part of it.
There is a
And I think
suggested
it's a
amendment
great
and there's a
idea.
second back here. And you have that. Okay. Any further discussion? Yes.
Yeah, no, as sitting on the trust too with President Terry, I appreciate you and bringing this forward, and I think it's desperately needed. I really glad we're taking this step, and Dennis too. Thank you for putting it on the agenda. So I'm really looking forward to hearing it again, and kind of it is we've said DEFCON 1 was one of the comments after the presentation at the trust, and so it's really important that we all hear what's going on. So
For those of you with a military background, Director Garbarino.
Thank you. I've been lucky enough to be here 6 years, and the discussions around this whole issue have always been at the forefront. So I just wanted to thank you. I think this is a very healthy idea. They say it takes 11 times before somebody remembers what they've heard. I'm hoping it's more like 5, but it will be illuminating and educational. Thank you for that.
Anyone else?
Just as to procedure, I moved the first motion, but I want the record to show that continuing that on to move the modified motion.
Okay, you've accepted the amendment. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we need to vote on the amendment first anyway, right?
Sure.
Yes. So on the amendment then, Madam Secretary, a roll call vote, please.
Sure, we have a first and a second on the amendment. The first came from Director Parr. Is that the
Sure.
amendment? That was from Director Parr, right?
And then
The amendment
Director
being-
Second with
Giudice.
Director Giudice, that's
Second.
right, so I'm going backwards, so I want to make sure I captured the right vote. So I'm going to start with the amendment. And then I'm going to start with Director Conroy, who's absent, Dorsey is absent, and Guardio's absent. Garbarino,
Aye.
Giudice,
yes,
Roseball.
Aye.
Hernandez. Maston.
Aye.
Olson Peter.
Yes.
Parr. Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill. is absent. First Vice President Cochran
Yes.
and President Terry.
Yes,
Thank you. You have 15 ayes.
that passes. Then the amended motion.
So now we're on the amended motion, and that would incorporate all the invitation as well as the payment. So now we're going backwards, and that was a first with the C Director Hernandez and the second with Director Thierry, starting with Director Conroy. Is absent, Dorsey is absent, and Guardia is absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Roseball.
Aye.
Hernandez. Aston.
Aye.
Holden Peters. Holden Peters.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Carr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cook absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Taylor.
Yes.
You have 15 again. Thank you.
So the motion as amended passes. That brings us back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to draw the board members' attention to a flyer that's in front of you. It's a flyer announcing our next bus rodeo. I'd like to encourage all of you to come, and if you wish, you can talk to a couple of your colleagues. You will have the opportunity, if you're so engaged, to actually drive a bus through the obstacle course. A couple board members that are sitting at the table here did do that at our last rodeo, and it's a great opportunity just to see how difficult a job our bus operators have. So it's on Saturday, October 7th, and I encourage all of you to come to see our bus operators. We'll also have our bus operator pre-apprentices there, as well as our partners in those programs, the College Marin, Santa Rosa City College, AT Local 1575, California Transit Works, and we will have Congressman Huffman stopping by to meet our pre-apprentices. So I just wanted to share all that with you to make sure that you're aware of it, and you're more than welcome to show up. And if you're so engaged, you can actually drive a bus. So moving on, we have one employee who celebrated a 25-year milestone. Dan Ing is in, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you're going kind of fast. Where is this taking
Our
place?
San Rafael Bus Yard. So we can give you directions if you're
Does it say
interested.
that on here?
It doesn't because it's Insiders Baseball, and I
It's on the
apologize.
QR
for that.
code, probably.
It's on Anderson Drive, right across the street from the dump.
Recycling.
Oh, Dennis.
Picking on the Italians already.
Whoa.
Reclamation and recycling.
Yeah.
This director very proudly participated in the construction of that recycling center, yes.
But yeah, so it's on Anderson Drive in San Rafael, and so I encourage you if you're available. It's tremendous fun, and it's great to meet the operators and see the great work that they do, but also, like I said, you want to drive a bus. And there is a
We like to
contest.
say waste management in San Francisco.
Very nice.
You can use that for the future.
So we have one employee who celebrates 25 years. That's Dan Ing. He's in our engineering department. There's not a lot of words associated with his write-up because the employees get to present a draft write-up, and it exemplifies Dan. He gets things done. And so he didn't submit a lengthy write-up about who he is or what he is. He just quietly does his job every day. We're very grateful to have him on our team. We hope he stays with us for another 25 years. Then finally, we have the Employee of the Month. Every month, a committee of employees, not managers, gets together, and they go through applications submitted by various workers at the district and all the divisions to select one of their own for exemplary service. And this month, they selected one of our ferry staff, who's a deckhand, Eugenio Marolano. Mr. Marolano has been with us since about 13 years now, and he works on a lot of our service that deals with our customers who are tourists and recreational trips. So he works a lot on Sausalito, Tiburon, and Angel Island service. And it can be quite challenging at times dealing with the customers who are not regulars on our system. And so when there's a large group of customers, he just does what he can to get them on the vessel in as expeditious and friendly a fashion as possible. And his work stands out to his colleagues as being exemplary and above and beyond the call of duty. He was promoted to his current position in March of 2014. He held several casual positions before that. Prior to coming to the district, he was a chef in the Cayman Islands, and prior to that in a casino in the Philippines. He grew up in Cebu City, Philippines. He attended school in the Philippines, and he now resides in Daly City with his family. But we're proud that he's part of our ferry team that welcomes visitors from afar to get on our ferry boats. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, General Manager Mulligan. Are there questions for the General Manager on his report, apart from the location of the bus yard? Yes, Director Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't so much have a question as to, I just want to acknowledge the procurement team. You had in your report, Dennis, that the procurement team received a 2023 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement, and I know that's a huge department. There are a lot of things that go along with an efficient and appropriate and ethical procurement department, and we have lots of amazing people behind that, making sure that the district is doing what we need to do in the realm of procurement. And so I just wanted to recognize them and thank them, in addition to congratulating the individuals that you just mentioned. Thank you.
Yes, Director Mahoney.
Thank you. I don't know if this is the right time, but I wanted to compliment the general manager and the team on the open house workshop for the San Rafael Transit Center that was held last week or 2 weeks ago. It was well attended, good ideas, well displayed, and I thought just a lot of good community input. So I was glad to be there with Commissioner Rodoni as well.
This was as good a time as any for that comment. Yes. Any other directors with?
If I may add,
yes, please.
We had a community workshop at the San Rafael Community Center, which was very well attended, including a couple directors. The week prior, we had an online Facebook Live event with the Canal Alliance that was even more well attended. So we're doing a lot of community outreach to help shape the actual design of the facility now that it's environmentally cleared. And we'll be reporting to the Transportation Committee in a couple of months with some details that reflects all that citizen input. So thank you for attending.
Any other directors with questions or comments for the General Manager on his report? I see none, so we can move along to the Attorney's report. Mr. Manolius.
Thank you, President Terry. My written report before you. If you have any questions, let me know. I have no closed sessions today, so good news on that.
Are there any questions for Mr. Manolius? I see none. And then next item is Ms. Bauer Furbush. She's striding to the microphone.
Good morning, President Torrio, members of the board. My written report is before you, and I would like to bring to your attention status of few projects that are described in my report. First is our suicide deterrent construction. I'm pleased to report that the North Approach Viaduct net installation is now completed, and there is a progress on the South Approach Viaduct where the east side installation is near completion. On the Fort Point Arch, the contractor is proceeding with the installation of the net supports. And they also continue sewing the net that is already in place on the suspension bridge. And they also progressing with the installation of the border cables around the towers. So this is a very good news because it means that the work is ongoing and they are closer and closer to completing this very important project, the task. Moving on, I'm sure everybody wants to hear about the elevator project. Right, so you remember there is this special equipment called oil water separator that has to be placed at the bottom of the pit. And this arrived on August 2nd, and it's right now it's installed, being tested, and it's working perfectly. So the contractor called the state to schedule for the inspector to come, they inspect and approve the elevator. So let's hope. I don't want to say too much, but I want to say I'm really looking forward to the board meeting in our boardroom next month. Then moving on, you may recall that we had the board approved a project that replaces the entry door to the administration building and also will retrofit windows in the building. And this is to provide people access to fresh air. It's an ancient but very effective way to keep air cleaner inside. So the door has been replaced and it's functioning. And the contractor is scheduled to start retrofitting the windows in about 2 weeks, and the whole work will take about 3 weeks to complete. So we will be coordinating with the staff that occupies different offices to make sure that, you know, we properly schedule to avoid any interruption to the work. Also, you may recall that we are employing HDR to perform our bridge inspections. They use this rope access method to go to the places on the bridge where we do not have fixed access. So right now they are progressing with the north half of the main span. They're working on those inspections this week, and the plan is that they will be doing such inspection 1 week every month. The rest of the time, they have to compile all the photos, all the notes that they're taking while doing inspections to make sure that everything finds its way to our final report that we have to send to Caltrans. Then Alexander Avenue, we had kickoff meeting with the surveyor. As you may recall that we have to do a survey before we can make design of the improvements to Alexander Avenue. And there is a schedule, in the schedule, the surveyor will start surveying in about 2 weeks. And finally, my pet project, the Toll Plaza paving. So the contractor began work on during nights. And first thing they have to do, they have to repair concrete spalls and also expansion joints. We project that the paving itself will start sometime middle of next month. And you may also recall that 2 or 3 months ago, you approved the project for the refurbishing of the ferry terminal fuel tanks. And this work is right now ongoing. The contractor began cleaning fuel in one of the tanks that has been out of service. So with this, I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have for me.
Other questions from members of the board for, excuse me, Ms. Bauer-Furbush? I see none. So thank you very much, Ms. Bauer-Furbush.
Thank you, Dr.
Then we come to our action items. The Building and Operating Committee met yesterday. There was a considerable discussion of the items to come before you today. And with that, Chair Garbarino, your report, please.
Thank you, President Terrio. The Building and Operating Committee, as you just said, is recommending approval of board agenda item number 8A1, which is to authorize award of contract number 2023B054, construction project management software to eBuilder Incorporated in a total not to exceed amount of $375,323 to implement construction management software and provide licenses for a term of 1 year, with the options for an additional 4 years, and authorize execution of the 12th Amendment to Professional Services Agreement number 2010B1 with HRD Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $399,637. Also to assist engineering staff with custom configuration of the software modules and to provide staff training relative to the specific project application of the software, and to approve a contingency for this 12th Amendment in an amount of $40,000 as detailed in the staff report, and I so move. And if I could just add, there was a wonderful comment that was made, I think it was by Jim, our question, that this software would morph itself into future projects, so it's very cost effective. So once again, I enthusiastically so move just because of that.
First of all, I'll acknowledge Director Theo.
Yes, thank you, Chair Garbarino and President Terrio. I have a potential conflict of interest. I will not be voting on item A1. I will recuse myself.
And there was a second for the motion. That was what I was going to ask for next. Is there discussion from the board on the motion, in addition to our discussion yesterday? I see none, so we can do a roll call vote.
8A1 for the first and second, starting with Director Conroy, who's absent, Dorsey is absent, and Guardiola is absent. Garbarino? Aye. Giudice?
Yes.
Grosbo?
Aye.
Hernandez? Aye. Maston?
Aye.
Alton Peters? Yes. Carr?
Aye.
Rabbit?
Aye.
Rodoni?
Aye.
Safai?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Stephanie is absent. Thayer is recused herself. Second Vice President Hill is absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 13 ayes.
13 ayes, that motion passes. Chair Garbarino, your report, does it continue?
Yes, thank you again, President Terrio. My last item for recommendation or the committees is item number 8A2, which is to authorize execution of the Sixth Amendment to PSA number 2014 FT13 in an amount not to exceed $579,985 for invasive weed control associated with project number 2041, Corte Madera Marsh Restoration Construction Project. Authorize a 10% contingency for this amendment in the amount of $58,000 and authorize an increase in the amount of $165,485 in the FY 2023-2024 Ferry Division capital budget for project number 2041. In concurrence with the Finance Auditing Committee and as detailed in the staff report, I so move.
And is there a second to that motion? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Thayer, you were going to say?
Yes, actually, I have two things I want to say, and I apologize to the board that I did not bring this up in committee. I thought we had a conflict of interest, but we do not have a conflict of interest on this matter. I know yesterday there was something brought up about the herbicide application by Director Parr, and that's exactly what I wanted to speak about today. I actually just thought of a friendly amendment that would be somewhat of a solution.
Can I have a second first on the first?
Yes, of course.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. Please continue.
Okay, so when I looked at this plan, they've got a great plan for managing the pampas grass removal without spraying any herbicides. And they have a really good environmentally friendly plan. However, in 2025 to 2027, they are talking, WRA is talking about herbicide application for larger resprouts within each management area. We don't have the contract in front of us, but I would like to make a friendly amendment to the motion or the contract that basically says, instead of herbicide application, it says treatment as allowed by the Marin County's IPM policy. So in Marin County, there's an integrated pest management policy. And what it says is you start with the most environmentally friendly way to control whatever species, invasive grass or plants that you want to. And if they had to resort, and it also specifies the products. The commission is an award-winning commission. This is what they do. This is their expertise. And when Tiburon was spraying Roundup in our parks and around our playgrounds where people were, obviously kids were playing and people were eating, right around the picnic tables, we looked at how do we best model our IPM ordinance. And we decided that following the Marin County IPM's commission, whose expertise this is, who does this every day, was the best way to do it. So what this would mean is that WRA would be able to use whatever is now allowed in Marin County. So I would ask directors, if they would indulge that.
That is an amendment you are moving, is that? And
Yes.
So you understand the amendment, do you? Then if, first of all, before is there any discussion on the amendment, is there a second to the amendment? There's a second to the amendment. And on the amendment discussion, Director Rabbit.
Just curious if they would not be following Marin County's pest management anyway.
They would not, because it's owned by the district.
I was asking
And
staff.
we have that issue. Actually, Assemblymember Damon Connolly is bringing a bill, AB 99, because right now in Tiburon, we have set forth what can be sprayed, what can be used. However, because Caltrans owns Highway 131, they can spray Roundup all along, our street.
With the permission of the board, let me give staff an opportunity to comment on this. Ms. Bauer Furbush or General Manager Mulligan, do you care to say anything?
I do believe that our consultant will take any measure using any chemicals. They will use all the other measures to eradicate the weeds. And if there is a too big spread of, let's say, pampas grass, there is a big patch, I'm sure that first way we will try to take care of it would be, again, use the same method, uprooting it and trying to kill with sun. And another thing in the proposal, they also mentioned that there will be hand removal of the spreading of those grasses. So if they mention herbicide, it's like the last resort. And I do believe that they will be follow all the rules that are applicable in the county.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Director Bidoni.
Just to clarify, our IPMs only apply to county parks and county facilities, the policy, but it's a practice that other cities and districts follow, so.
Director Thayer.
Yes, I just want to say I love you, Ava Bauer. I love you. But I will say that what is in front of me says that between 2025 and 2027, the follow-up treatment will include manual removal of smaller plants and herbicide application for larger resprouts within each management area. So that's what's in the staff report. And so it makes me very uncomfortable just to rely on the good graces of WRA. And I know WRA is a very environmentally friendly company, but I do think we should make this minor adjustment and have them follow the county's IPM policy with respect to whatever treatment they decide to use. And there's great things that they can use that will accomplish the same result, but will be the most environmentally friendly and the least toxic to people, animals.
Yes, I'm the one that brought it up, and I'm the one that is anti-Roundup, and I'll be really clear about it. I appreciate the fact that there's something in place that says don't do it. Doesn't mean people won't do it. I mean, I said yesterday, Home Depot has a stack of Roundup for sale as you walk in the door, and that's their #1 seller for weed killer. Would some sort of a compromise be that we do something like that, where we say, no, you can't do it because you have to follow certain rules? And then if for some reason they decide that they absolutely have to, which I don't think is necessary, that we hear about it before and can stop it then? Or is one of you maybe would like to weigh in on that? I just am uncomfortable leaving any kind of a window.
The responses, I mean, I'm going to say that could be an amendment to the amendment, but let's hear the responses first.
So we've negotiated a contract, a scope of work. And so the latitude is to accept the contract or not accept the contract. But it's important to note that we don't want the invasive species to degrade the wetland that's been established. And so we do need to act with something at this juncture. In the first couple of years of this contract, contemplate no herbicide. It's all tearing it up, ripping it out. But that we want to start this fall. There's environmental windows that we can and cannot work out there based on various different endangered species. There's a mouse, there's something used to be called a clapper rail, that's now called a ridge rail. And so there's a lot of constraints. And so one possibility is that you approve the item with a caveat. And the caveat is that before herbicides apply, that we come back to you, report that we're contemplating it and what the plan is, that you then have the opportunity to terminate the contract. Because if we don't approve the contract as written, we can't start work now. And so my recommendation is that if you have this concern that passionately, that we approve this item with a caveat that staff report back to you a year from now how it's going, and then 2 years from now about how it's going, and if they're planning on using any herbicide, and then you will have the discretion, I think, at that juncture to say, well, we want to terminate the contract. But if we don't start now, we will miss a window, and we do risk degrading the 4-acre marsh. And so I would like to throw that out as a potential compromise to be responsive to the director's concerns while being responsive to the regulatory agency's mandate that you have to have this 4-acre wetland be a wetland.
We have an amendment that has been made and seconded, however. And so I will turn to the maker of the amendment and say, do you wish to go ahead with the amendment as made and seconded, or shall we?
Yes, I do. I do. You know, I think this is really critical. Terminating a contract is a huge issue. And with all due respect to staff, I believe the company is a DBE. Is that right? A small business enterprise. So, you know, I do not think in 2 years this board is going to vote to terminate the contract. I think this is a minor amendment. I also think that WRA would accept the contract. And I think this is so important that if our attorney tells us that we would have to get back together to do this vote in a couple of days, I would be willing to do that. I do not think that we should give license, and this is spraying any herbicide. We don't know what they'll spray. And, you know, coming back in a year or 2 years and trying to terminate a contract is really not the way to do it. The windows for when work can be done is a valid point. And I would be willing to come back in a week or whenever you know, our general manager and attorney say is the time for us to vote on this. But I also think that, you know, keeping the wetland as a wetland, if you look at all of the things that they're going to do to treat the pampas grass from resprouting, and you know, they've got a really good plan here that is environmentally friendly until you get to year 2025 and 2027. And we need to make sure that we do not allow any of this stuff to be applied, because this will not keep the wetland in the way it's supposed to be. It will kill the birds, it will kill other things, and it also will run into the bay. So I'm very concerned about all of these things. And I think the best model is for us to just say that they can use treatments as specified in the Marin County's IPM policy. That policy will give them many environmentally friendly things that they can use that will accomplish the same goal, but will not kill everything else and be toxic to humans and animals. So I would ask for a vote on the.
Attorney Manolius, but Director Maston had a comment.
Yeah. I support the amendment, but I would question whether WRA would be acceptable to them, and or would we need to renegotiate it, or would we need to reopen the whole process again?
Attorney Manolius, you had.
Yeah. So the problem is that you have a negotiated contract before you. And so if you vote a different term in the contract, it's not an acceptance of the contract. Mm-hmm. So you're basically going back to the drawing board. You could do it conditionally to tell them this is what we would do, but you still don't have a contract, right? So I think the vote is to reject the current contract and go renegotiate it.
Why can't?
Let me make a possible suggestion and run this by staff. Suppose, given what you've heard today, that we continue this item for 1 month and give you an opportunity to have that discussion.
Yeah, you need to call Ava because that's
Ava, please. Yeah.
If we cannot issue notice to proceed September 1st, we will lose the window. And it's really a very bad situation there after all those rains. I mean, we thought it was bad before. It's just unbelievable. If I may suggest something, would it be acceptable, Kim, if the board votes to approve this contract with a condition that prior to use any chemicals, we will have to have board approval?
Maybe that can address the question, then I'll get to you.
It's still a change in the contract. So you're not approving what's before the board now. It requires an amendment. So I mean, Dennis's termination idea seems to me to be the most sound one.
I will point out the termination blows the 1st September start as well.
No, so the goal would be that you approve the contract today with the understanding we report back in a year, because there's no herbicide contemplated the first 2 years. And then we report back 6 months after that. And then if it looks like it's headed towards termination, staff would either negotiate an amendment or terminate. And we could negotiate an amendment, which would, be for different work. And if you gave us that direction, it would allow us to start September 1st when the environmental work window opens up. And that way there would be no use of herbicides. But I think if you allowed us to, gave us the option, the understanding that we would either negotiate an amendment that would come back to the board for approval before any herbicide is approved, I think it might allow us to start work September 1st. Because we don't want to, this area is adjacent to the marsh. We don't want the invasive species continuing to grow where they invade the marsh.
And you can negotiate the amendment tomorrow.
Director Moulton Peters here.
I just wanted to provide some context for this IPM policy that's been in place for a number of years in Marin. It's the same one that our fire department follows, where they also have to deal with invasive species. So there's a hierarchy of solutions to be used, with the most benign being the first and an herbicide being the last resort. It's hard. I feel like we're hitting this amendment with a sledgehammer for a contract run. I don't understand why we can't ask for alignment with this Marin County IPM policy, which sounds like what you're following anyway. So can't we make it more specific? It really has been well vetted in Marin County, so it's not a black hole.
This is again for Kim to consider. The way we run contracts is we do not allow consultants and contractors just run loose and decide what their scope involves or not. At any given point, the district managing the contract has a power to say, we want to change this or that or whatever. So if you approve this contract today, we can start negotiating different methods. I do believe they will not object to what you're proposing, but to make absolutely sure that this complies with the board wishes, we can have this recorded in the form of an amendment. And that's normal life on all the contracts district runs. So you can say, I'm responsible to make sure that no chemicals are used. And this is what directions of my staff will be to this contractor. It will not be unprecedented that there is an amendment to a contract. So I don't know, Kim, if this works.
Let me let Kim respond to that.
Yes, I mean, again, you could negotiate the amendment tomorrow, approve it today and negotiate the amendment tomorrow. And if they don't amend, you'll terminate in 2 years.
So that, however, is not the amendment on the floor before us today. Director Schneider.
I'm just curious, how much legal way, is there any way to do it through like a board policy, like our just district policies that all contracts that we let have to follow the Marin IPM? Is there a way to do it through a policy decision? I'm just curious.
We unfortunately do have a contract that's already been negotiated, Director Thayer.
So I'm a little taken aback as to what our role here is as a board if we can't make an amendment like this. And I understand that a contract was negotiated, but what I don't understand is why we can't vote on this and then what we voted on goes back to them and you ask them, will you accept this contract? I don't think this is anything that it's not a major change. It's not anything that is happening in year one. I also noticed that the treatment of the pampas grass and the harding grass is in the fall of 2023 through the spring of 2025. And they're just going to be cutting tall plant fronds in 3 areas with hedge trimmers. So it seems to me like we have more than a week to do this, but I would respectfully ask that we approve the amended motion and have our attorneys and staff go back to WRA and ask them to accept this contract. That negotiation can happen on Monday. And I do believe they'll sign the contract. I don't believe this is a major or material term.
Director, excuse me, General Manager Mulligan.
So consistent with that, then I'm trying to get to something that meets all the needs. So could the amendment be that the board approves the contract with the caveat that staff is instructed to negotiate an amendment that removes the use of herbicides and is consistent with the Marin County Integrated Pest Management, IPM, whatever it is, and with the understanding that if they're not successful in implementing that amendment, then that contract will not move forward?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes, but yes, that would work. I would take that as a friendly amendment from our director. From our director.
Is that, you award the contract with the understanding that we'll come back with an amendment next month that deals with the herbicide, because that then allows us to have them start what they need to do when the mice in the clapper rail or ridge rail are not there.
Yes,
So
and
we have then accept a change to the amendment that is acceptable to the maker of the amendment.
as long as it's
Who
acceptable to
seconded?
my fellow director.
Yeah, that was going to, who was the second?
Second, computers.
Are you okay with that as well?
Yes. Okay, yes,
Okay.
I think that's a good plan.
So we have an amended amendment that has been accepted by the maker and the seconder. It's a discussion on that version of the amendment. I see Director Hernandez first, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Director Theer for your thoughtful research and the way you've treated a potential solution. Thank you, Dennis, for suggesting something that meets the needs of all folks here. I just appreciate the discussion once again of this board and the staff input to help us reach a point where we can all feel good about this decision. And just in addition to the comments that were made today and yesterday, I also want to just sort of put out there that it's not just, we don't want to hurt any species, but that includes humans, because there will be workers that will be applying, that will be doing the work out there. Should there be herbicides, that would put humans in the way of harm. And so with that, I just,
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for, as the chair of that committee, for your thoughtful consideration in helping guide us through this to perhaps a better place. I think we all wish, hope, and dream that in the first 2 years, those other applications are going to eradicate the problem and make this a better wetland space. So thank all three of you who spoke on that. And Director Snyder, I really like your idea of bringing it back again. Another policy perhaps for the IPMs, so it's more of a global application that might keep us more in track with what the Marin County practice is. So thank you so much.
Director Maston.
Now, it might be cleaner to withdraw the original amendment and then restate it. Than try to amend the amendment.
That isn't necessary, is it?
Not necessary, but.
Yeah, I think we're fine. But I do want it restated before we vote. And Director Snyder.
No, I was curious, just because I like, thank you for your comment, but I wonder, is San Francisco have the same, that we're living in two counties? I'm wondering if they have a similar kind of policy, maybe.
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. And it would be interesting to know other counties if they have the same.
I mean, 'cause we cover the two, well, I guess we have.
Parcels in Marin County.
We have parcels in Sonoma as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Off the
Yeah,
top of my head. I would imagine that we just, if I can speak, we would have a very strict herbicide policy in San Francisco, but I can't say with full confidence.
This has come up in San Francisco before. I need to look into it more so I can, speak intelligently on the matter. I'm sorry I had to step out for a minute, but I was brought up to speed a little bit, but something I definitely have to look into. But obviously this is something that occurs in other counties as well.
Director Rodoni.
Yeah, I was gonna make another suggestion, but I'm happy with what Dennis has proposed. But I did want to mention that our IPM does ultimately allow herbicides if that's the last resort. And we don't use them very often, but they are used. So I wanted to be open about that. It doesn't ban them. It does allow it after you go through a process if that's the last thing you could use. And I have a situation in my district with Japanese knotweed in the very sensitive San Fernando Valley where there's coho salmon, and we've had to use Roundup to eliminate that invasive weed. It would have taken over the whole valley. and been very successful timing and when you do it, how you do it, very limited and local treatment. But our IPM does allow that, as I wanted to point that out.
Director Rao.
I was just going to say that Sonoma County is exactly the same thing. It's not prohibited, but it's the lowest on the totem pole. If you'll notice, we have 1,368 miles of roads. We don't have enough personnel to actually go out and take care of the invasive species. You'll see a lot of no spray zones put up by individual property owners, and that becomes their responsibility. And so we've worked out a compromise in that regard, but similar to other counties where it's just can't avoid it at some point in time.
Director Parr and then Director.
Thank you for the discussion. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that there are some options out there. As you all know, I negotiated a bit in another life. And my adage has always been, sometimes you have to just, both sides have to swallow hard and trust the process. And I really appreciate Dennis's path forward. And I will trust the process and trust that whatever we do, if it gets to the point where the workers and the land is being compromised too much by whatever they use, that we'll dip back in and do something appropriate. Thank you.
Director.
Yes, I just want to thank my colleagues for the discussion. It would have come up in committee. However, at that moment, we thought we had a conflict of interest that we don't have. So it would have been brought up earlier, but thank you very much. And I will look forward to, I know that Director Snyder was talking about possibly some kind of an overall policy. For me, that would be a ban of all herbicides on district-owned land. And I would love to start working with any directors on that who would like to, and staff as well, if it's acceptable to staff.
Any other directors with comments on this? Can we hear the restated, the motion, the amendment, the corrected amendment to which the maker and the seconder have agreed?
All right. Dennis, feel free to jump in because you were on the fly as well as Kim, but I understand that we were going to amend the original motion to instruct staff to negotiate an amendment almost immediately to include following the Marin, and it's called the IPM for everyone, the Integrated Pest Management Policy.
Yes.
So that's what it's called. So in case anyone didn't know what IPM stood for. And return next month for approval of that amendment.
So approve the contract with the understanding that staff will negotiate an amendment to come back next month.
Correct.
The amendment is to comply with Marin County IPM.
And if that amendment is not accepted, then the contract does not move forward.
Yeah, I think that the contract can move forward, but you could reset at a later date. I think we do want to start having them go in there and start working September 1st. And so we could, at some point, we'll report back next month where we're at.
I thought that's what you said in your first.
What I said is that the board would approve the contract with the caveat that we would negotiate an amendment to comply with Marin County IPM and report back next month. I don't envision a problem with WRA agreeing to that. And then the amendment may or may have additional costs, and that's okay. The key is that we'll come back next month with an amendment. And they're a quality firm that I think reflects the values of the community. And so I don't envision any challenges with that.
You can get anything you pay for. Any other directors? Then on the amendment, we have roll call vote, please.
Sure, and we do have a first and second on that. So on the amendment, starting with Director Conroy's absent, Dorsey's absent, and Guardio's absent, Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Roosevelt.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Parr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Verdoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie. Aye. Beer.
Enthusiastically, aye.
Vice President Hill is absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. Nice.
That amendment passes. And then on the amended motion.
On the amended motion, this is the official record now. So we do have a first originally with Director Garbarino, and a second from First Vice President Cochran. So we're starting with Director Conroy again. Dorsey's absent, and Guardio's absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Roseball.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Fulton Peters.
Yes.
Carr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Beer.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hills absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terry.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And you have your tonight.
Very good. That passes. Thank you, Director Thier, and Director Moulton Peters for the amendment. And Chair Garbarino, is there anything else for us?
Well, I'll just piggyback on your thank you. Thank you for bringing that thoughtful discussion to fore. I really appreciate all of it.
And as I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to end my committee report on a light note and encourage everyone, while it is across the street from the dump, and you will notice that, it's also down the street. We have a sewer treatment plant, so I blame all odors on them. It's convenient. But this, if you've not been to this rodeo, is phenomenal. And I'm lucky enough to have crossed the street and attended. And give one example, those bus drivers, and this is from someone who can drive a garbage truck and a tank. Those bus drivers can go backward through the course, and there's just 2 inches on either side of the tires, both front and back. It's phenomenal. So I would encourage you to attend. It's really wonderful and healthy.
I was just turning around and speaking, and I saw your hand up, Director Hernandez, so.
Thank you, President Terrio. Just as a point as to our previous item, as Chair of the Rules Committee, I would welcome a discussion, should it be brought forth to the Rules Committee on policy as to adopting the policy.
I'm gonna say, I believe staff has heard you. Then, Chair Garbarino, that is your report, yes?
We're done.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we move along to the Finance and Auditing Committee. That the item there also was discussed yesterday. Chair Rabbit, you got off a little light this week, or this month rather, but go ahead, please.
We did, and actually, this is a very good item, and very appreciative, and glad to hear that it's not Director Garbarino's first rodeo.
I was impressed she could drive a garbage.
Yeah, I want to see the tanks. But thank you, President Terrio. The Finance Auditing Committee recommends the approval of item 8B1 in authorizing the renaming of Project 1923 in the fiscal year 23-24 Bridge Division capital budget to the Golden Gate Suspension Bridge seismic retrofit. Authorize an increase in the fiscal year 23-24 Bridge Division capital budget in the amount of $1,443,663 for Project 1923 Golden Gate Suspension Bridge seismic retrofit to be funded with 100% unspent Federal Highway Administration funds from projects 9102, which was the seismic retrofit 3 design, and 9206 seismic retrofit 3A construction, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Yes.
Giudice. Second back there, Director Giudice. Any board discussion on the motion? I am seeing none. A roll call vote?
All right, thank you. Voting on item 8B1 with the first and second, starting with Director Conroy is absent, Dorsey's absent, and Guardio's absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Roseball.
Aye.
Hernandez. Aye. Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Carr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Beer.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hills absent, First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 59.
Director Rabbit, is that all you have for us?
That's all I have.
That's all you have. Thank you very much. Then also, we had some discussion at Rules Policy and Industrial Relations yesterday. Chair Hernandez, that's your report.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have one item to present for board consideration today. The Rules Committee recommends the approval of item 8C1 to approve implementation of an enhanced vacation accrual policy in the engineering department for engineering inspector classifications for up to a maximum of 30 days at accrual rates based on certified relevant years of work experience, either at the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District or in positions prior to district employment as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
There's a motion, and I heard a second back there. There's a second back there. Any discussion on the motion? heard a little bit earlier, but none right now. So we can have another roll call vote.
All right, thank you. Voting on item 8C1 with first and second, starting with Director Conroy is absent, Dorsey's absent, and Guardio's absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Rosewall.
Aye.
Hernandez. Aye. Maston.
Aye.
Fulton Peters.
Yes.
Carr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Beer. Aye. Second Vice President Hill is absent. First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes,
Thank you. You have 59.
15 ayes. That motion also passes. Chair Hernandez, anything else? Thank you for your report. That's it for the committee's work from yesterday. We have no new business, of which I'm aware. And so the last item, communications. There were no communications this month, were there? There were no communications this month. So the last item is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? And is there a second? Yes. And there's a second. Do I see any objection to adjourning? I see none. So we will adjourn today in memory of Eileen Cunningham and Jeanette Mason. I have a moment of silence for Eileen Cunningham and Jeanette Mason. Thank you very much.